Here's the news from the AP. Judge denies bail for man accused of setting fire at Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's residence. The latest development. For those who didn't know, the Democrat governor had his home firebombed while he was sleeping with his wife and children by a, quote, registered socialist and BLM supporter, allegedly, say the police, by the name of Cody Balmer. Well, I should say his name is Cody Balmer, and he's alleged to have firebombed the house. He's been charged with arson, supporting general leftist memes and BLM tropes and things of that nature, as well as comments he's made as to the Ahmaud Arbery case, showing he's clearly on the side of Black Lives Matter. And this is what you get with the Mangione effect. Now, the AP reports Cody Balmer spoke with the public defender at times as he appeared in court late Monday afternoon after being released from the hospital where he'd been taken after an unrelated medical incident. Balmer of Harrisburg told police he planned to beat Governor Shapiro with a small sledgehammer if he encountered him after breaking into the building. According to court documents, a motive for the attack, including whether it had anything to do with Shapiro's politics or religious beliefs, wasn't immediately clear. Now, initially, one of the first things we saw on X was that people believed it was an anti-Semitic attack because on X, everything's going to be about Jews or Israel, apparently. And Shapiro was having Passover dinner, so it's not completely unfounded. However, the key speculation right now is that this guy, he had his house.
It wasn't during the dinner.
No, it was like that night, and the dinner was like set up. So here's what's really fascinating is, Jack, you're gonna love this one. Apparently, the socialist had his home seized by the state and then auctioned off, and the socialist got angry, so he firebombed the governor's home, allegedly.
Wait, his home? I think you mean
the governor's.
Our home.
Don't you mean our?
Oh yeah,
right. The socialist,
Indeed.
the socialist was very upset about his private property rights being
Violated.
violated.
So,
even though he supports literal abolishment of all private property.
So this was funny because I was trying to explain the story to my wife, and I said, I was like, hey, remember that this morning we saw the story of the guy who firebombed that house? Turns out he was a socialist. And she was like, what, do they know the motive? And I was like, I guess he was mad because the state seized his property and auctioned it off. And she was like, the socialist. And I was like, right. And she was like, no, the socialist was mad the state took his house. Mm-hmm. And I started laughing.
I mean, it's so good. She's doing great, by the way. Got to see her, got to see the family a little bit. Glad to see that's all doing well. Congrats, by the way, officially. I don't think I've seen you since. But no, this is a case where, look, I took a lot of crap last year for putting this book out about leftist violence and anti-communism and saying that I saw what I called the rise of the unhumans.
Yeah.
And every single mainstream outlet under the sun came at us and attacked me. You know, you're fascist, you're crazy, you're calling for a return of Franco, and all these things that we didn't actually say in the book anywhere. We came on the show many times, talk about unhumans. And then immediately, 4 days after we put the book out, Donald Trump is taking bullets in Pennsylvania, and then the violence has only escalated since there. Multiple assassination attempts. And then, not only that, you have this actual assassination of a CEO who, as we talk about in the book, leftist violence always targets specific classes. So in the Bolshevik Russia, you saw the kulaks. In China, it was the petty bourgeoisie. And it's always, anyone associated with the current quote-unquote status quo. Predominantly in the United States today, that is affluent, white, Christian males. And so that's the phrase that's the phase that it's taken on now, which is sort of more of a form of cultural Marxism. And so I just kept saying the left is playing footsies with this like crazy. And now, Tim, you mentioned earlier, Taylor Lorenz, she's on. They're platforming this. Oh, we need to understand the Free Luigi movement. You got scumbags like Bill Burr going.
There was a long time where it was almost with a wink and a nod, and they wouldn't outwardly admit it. They wouldn't say that they're looking for class war. But now if you listen to AOC and Bernie, who are drawing thousands of people on their tour, or you listen to people like Taylor Lorenz or any other prominent leftists that are actually leftists, they're saying things that are very much class war, and they're the lionizing people like Luigi Mangione. We have a massive problem with the left in the United States because even if they're popular, they're still effing wrong and they'll destroy the country.
Yeah. Well, and you got Luigi Mangione coming out. And I remember, by the way, so you look at the two events. So Luigi Mangione gets arrested, by the way, in Pennsylvania in December of 2024. Remember, he fled from New York, then was caught in Pennsylvania. So Josh Shapiro was involved in that. Butler, Pennsylvania, again, also Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro's involved in that. And I remember Shapiro, after both of those events, including Luigi Maggioni, speaking out against political violence. So I'll give him credit for that. He did actually do that, including Maggioni directly. But at the same time, it's like, dude, look at your party, man. You know, you want to spend all your time going out and talking about the right and talking about Trump supporters, but look at the problem in your own party, on your own side, the footsies that they play with this. I'm not condoning political violence anywhere, but the point is you should always oppose all political violence. And we certainly haven't seen that on the left. And again, you're talking about the Netflix stuff, the Taylor Lorenz stuff. Dude, I've seen Free Luigi bumper stickers out in the wild in the DC area, just driving around, and you see them around, and you see the mainstream now platforming this kind of stuff, and it's only going to get worse. The algorithm, I think, drives a lot of this stuff as well. That's why you're not really seeing. Scott Greer had a really good point where he said that millennials did more of like the mass movement kind of stuff, like Antifa, BLM, whereas Gen Z they want to go viral. Right. So they want to have their moment in the sun. They want to have their moment where they get to go viral. There was that kid in Wisconsin who killed his parents recently. Yeah.
Right. Much less communistic.
Saying that he was wanted to do that in somehow a plot to get Trump because he was going to use their money to fuel this or something like that. There was another guy who just got arrested last week for wanting to kill Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, by the way, who went by the name of Mr. Satan on YouTube. Even though Thomas Matthew Crooks did not live in Butler, he actually lived in Bethel Park, which is about 45 minutes away. But obviously, he tried to kill him in Butler, PA. So point being is this is getting worse. This is actually getting a lot worse, and they're not going for the large scale movements anymore. That thing the other day was like totally paid in, where like Rachel Maddow was supporting it. You remember like the anti-Doge protest they were having? It's a total joke. But the actual feral left, they're not doing the Antifa Black Bloc stuff anymore. They're just going out and picking targets and going for it.
Oh, yeah. There's also the dog whistling that happens, right? So you'll see these attacks, and immediately the left is going to jump on there saying, oh, is MAGA going to come out and condemn these attacks? Is MAGA going to do something about it? Yesterday, I'm seeing calls to condemn this violent act, which I'm happy to condemn that act. But it's like, are we not okay with this? Well, of course we're not okay with this. But is it supposed to be because I'm not okay with it because it's MAGA? Well, no. I need to know who did it before I can condemn them. The act is condemnable by itself, but that's how they get these stories out there. But they paint the picture like they're perfectly fine, and it's all us doing it. And
it's the weirdest thing when I go on Reddit, and the response from all these people is that the right is dangerously violent, and I'm just thinking to myself, can we name one Republican, like prominent conservative Republican, who went and committed acts of terror and violence in the past couple of years?
Of course not.
I mean, maybe one. I don't know. Is there one?
I mean,
I'm not saying none.
So the left would say January 6th. Yeah.
So 5 years ago, but what about 4 years?
I mean, I guess
technically that we can give that one 4 years. January 6th, and then they would lie and say that people died.
Right. So they would claim that January 6th is a terrorist attack. Well, then, of course, there was also the Jan 6 pipe bomb bomber. Why don't we just go get that guy? I agree. You know what? The left is completely correct. We better find out who did that. We should find out exactly who did that.
But if you really want to know,
call up Kash Patel right now.
If you really want to know when the last time right-wing political violence happened, you're going to have to go back like 150 years, and Abraham Lincoln was the one that did that.
Huh?
Oh, I got you. Yes. Yeah, exactly. No, it's ridiculous. It's horrible. And the left will sit and I would say prior to this, the FBI would and the left would say, oh, it's all right wing violence. It's all right wing violence. Right wing violence is the greatest threat. And yet I can list names: Luigi Maggioni, Nikita Katsep, Sean Mompers, this guy Cody Ballmer in Pennsylvania, Thomas Matthew Crooks, Ryan Wesley Routh, and again and again and again, and they'll look at you until you're blue in the face. By the way, I had a friend who had a leftist that he knows, like in real life, said to him recently about the Cody Ballmer case, and said, well, wait a minute, this is clearly a leftist, is a BLM supporter, says right there, avowed, registered socialist. Oh, well, you see, this is Trump's fault.
Yeah.
How is this Trump's fault? And this was the answer. I was I was actually surprised. I was so surprised that I was like, I'm almost proud of you for being able to accomplish this Olympic feat of mental gymnastics. They said it's Trump's fault because Trump has emboldened the white rage of white male violence in society today. And you look at the stuff this guy posted, and it's like, wait a minute, Antifa was always white males. They were always white males on the left from the very start of Antifa. That's by and large. By the way, a lot of BLM was white too, by the way, like if you actually looked at the composition of the rallies. And so when you're talking about this, it's like, we never talk about it this way. We talk about the political ideologies and pathologies that are driving the violence. You're the ones who try to put all these weird, racial identity markers on all of it. We just follow the facts where they go.
Another aspect of it is the accountability part. I think because there is a complete lack of accountability with the leftist actions, or at least an attempt to seek accountability, they run roughshod basically. And it'd be nice to see like the FBI and stuff take this more seriously, and perhaps they are. And maybe there's investigations that are underway that I'm unaware of. But it is getting worse, and it has been escalating. And I'd hate for it to get even worse than where it's at right now.
There's been so much leftist influence in the government and in popular culture and in the national zeitgeist. You have the media consistently running cover for anything any leftist does. There was a time where it was just like, you'd hear the news or whatever kind of glossing over the politics of the left, or glossing over the, everyone remembers mostly peaceful riots, etc. And the right was kind of outraged and kind of like, what, this is ridiculous, etc. Now, again, we talk about prominent leftists that are saying things like, well, Luigi Mangione, man, and they're behind they endorse the violence now. Well, they'll say, well, it shouldn't be violent, but when they make excuses. Well, when you push people too far, etc., and taking agency completely away from the people that are actually acting.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.